What's up guys, Asian here again with another dungeon guide video. This time we're going to be covering Vaults of Madness.
I was about to say, why wouldn't it?
This dungeon is one of the longer ones, has a lot of bosses, but you can run it in under 30 minutes. It is possible to speed run through this dungeon. I will be DPSing this dungeon again. As usual, we will be skipping over the trash mob fights. For each of the boss fights, we will explain the mechanics. Once I explain the mechanics, we will skip over the rest of the boss fight. This dungeon in particular drops Grothdarrs, which is considered the best monster set to use for any magical classes that tend to stay close up to the enemy, so Magplars and Mag DKs will benefit greatly from using Grothdarrs. So if you are considering using any of those two classes as a DPS, consider running this dungeon a couple of times in order to get Grothdarrs. Mac is with me today as a tank, and we've decided to pug the rest of our team. As you can see, the Dungeon Finder was still glitched out at that point. Kicked us right back out of the dungeon, but we decided to port back in so we can actually do this dungeon. Moving on ahead, skip past these trash mobs here to the first boss. First boss here is a Wraith, comes with a bunch of ads. Take out the ads first. One thing to keep in mind for this boss, avoid using your damage over time effects on the boss if you can, due to its special mechanic. Our tank died to it, but I didn't manage to get a chance to show you this mechanic, and I believe we do manage to burn this boss down before the mechanic shows up again. So the mechanic here, he will launch a green beam from his hand onto a random person, and whatever damage he takes, that person who is on the other side of the beam also manages to take as well. So for this reason, if you happen to see the green beam, you need to stop attacking the boss immediately. Otherwise, it's pretty much going to be an insta-wipe for that person who is getting hit by that beam. Other than that, he doesn't have any other sort of special attacks. This is the second boss here, right after the first boss. When you start the fight, fire does appear on the bridge, so make sure the entire group is with the boss before you pull. It is possible to run through the fire, though, to get into the boss if you do happen to be left out. You will randomly stun one person and summon 4 orbs. When that happens, you need to break the 4 orbs so the person is unstunned. If the orbs reach the boss, then I believe they just heal the boss. I don't believe the person who is caught happens to die. She will also randomly attack one person and kind of stagger them a little bit, and she has a fire wave attack like so. Neither the stun attack nor the fire wave can be interrupted. Gonna go ahead and skip past the rest of this trash mobs. On to the next boss. There will be several points during this dungeon that you'll be able to skip past some of the trash mobs. This is one of them. You can actually skip the group of mobs in that circular platform by just heading straight to the left, hugging the bookshelf. This is the next boss, comes with a crap ton of ads, including archers that are kind of hidden away close to the wall. If you are a Dragonite, if your tank is a Dragonite, they can use chains, unrelenting grip, fiery chains, to grab them and kind of pull them back towards the center so the DPS are able to kill them. It's very useful to have a Dragonite tank or a DPS here just for the chain so you can take care of the archers. The best thing to do here is to take care of the trash mobs before you engage the boss. The trash mobs are quite annoying to deal with the boss. Doesn't have a lot of mechanics here, just your typical bone colossus, so he'll summon some skeletal ads that will explode after a period of time. He does have a charge move that you saw there, and when he charges, he does leave red AoE circles on the ground. So you just want to stay out of the way when he charges, and after he charges, kind of stay out of that path so you don't get hit by the AoE circles. Other than that, he doesn't have any other sort of special mechanics. When you beat the boss and go through the door, there is a thin plank to your right. Sometimes there's a chest over there. It is possible to walk that plank and get to that chest without dying. If you do happen to fall off that plank, though, that is a death, so you will have to respawn back at the Way Shrine and run all the way back. This set of trash mobs you can actually skip. We decided to stand and fight, but you can skip them by running to the right and down that ledge. They will not be able to follow you if you jump down that ledge. If you do happen to jump though, keep in mind the ranged users can continue to hit you, so jump down the following ledge so they will no longer be able to hit you. This is the next boss here. This is Grothdarr. When you start the fight, as you can see, there is fire on the two bridges that lead up to this platform, and he summons two lines of lava that will continually move during the fight. There is supposed to be a pattern from what I've heard, but I've never really noticed one, so just kind of keep an eye on where they are and move around them as much as you can. Grothdarr himself doesn't really have any sort of special moves. He has a heavy attack that the tank should block. I believe it'll still stagger you even if you do happen to block it. And he does have a frontal AoE cone attack, so just stay away from the front of the boss. So really the basis of this fight is just keep on moving and avoiding the lava paths that circle around the arena. Continuing onward. From this point on, there's going to be a lot of small trash mobs that come up. You use your AoEs to burn them down. When you get into this room, this is the next boss. There will be a bunch of trash mobs, but if you run over to the left, enter this room, there will be one Soul-Reaver here. When you attack them, you actually aggro all of the other mobs in the room besides the boss and two other adds near him. So you can just funnel them all in here and use your AoEs to basically burn all of them down. I highly recommend doing this before you start the fight. If you do happen to forget, do take out all the adds before you engage the boss, who is the Daedroth at the back of the room. This makes the boss fight a lot easier to deal with. Once you take care of the adds, you can go ahead and engage the Daedroth boss. It has a few mechanics, not terribly difficult though. It comes with two spellcaster adds. He has a frontal AoE fire attack just like all Daedroths, and he will spit fire at a random person, and once that fire hits the person, like so, there will be a fire AoE on the ground. So if he does happen to target you, just move out of the way so you're not in that fire AoE after the attack hits you. Continuing onward, once you get to this part here, this platform, if you are going for a no-death run, make sure you jump straight off like that so you land in the water. If you happen to land off-center, like so, you will hit the ground and actually die. That happens if you decide to jump off to the right or to the left. So if you are going for a no-death run, make sure you run straight ahead. Do not deviate left or right. Continuing onward, you will fight a couple of trash mobs. Once you deal with them, it is possible to skip this next boss here. Instead of engaging the boss, you can run over to the left or right and simply climb up the stairs there and completely bypass this boss entirely. However, because this dungeon does drop worms, which is one gear set that all healers want, you're probably going to want to kill this boss anyways, just for the extra chance that drops. He is a Watcher, standard Watcher attacks, so if you are DPS, or a healer, you kind of going to want to stand away from the boss, either behind them or to the side to avoid the AoE beams that he does. He has one special attack where he will spin like so and cause damage to everybody. The amount of damage he causes is proportional to the amount of health he has left, so it steadily does more damage as the health of the boss continues to drop. I believe the percentage damage you take is proportional to the percentage of health he has remaining. So if you have 75% health remaining on the boss, you will take 25% of your health as damage, and so on. This is the next boss here. He has a couple of attacks. He does a fire line towards a person, so if you see him facing you and kind of crouching down, that means he's going to breathe fire at you. That's when you want to kite left or right to avoid the fire. He has a kind of ground pound on himself that it has an AoE knockback centered on him. He will target one random person and leap to them. When you see an AoE circle grow on you, that means he's going to leap to you. That actually has a delayed damage effect if you do happen to get hit by it, so you will see the stagger knockback effect, and then your health will go down. You might have seen that in the beginning of the fight when I got caught in that move. So if you are a healer, just be aware of that there is a delayed kind of indicator of damage for that move. When you finish the boss, do check the alcoves, the kind of dark alcoves for any chests. There's normally one chest somewhere in these alcoves here.
Take this tune a while.
One last thing to note on this next jump here on this platform. If you are going for a no death run, if you have anybody in your party that is using rapids or has the medium armor perk passive that gives you increased run speed, do not sprint and jump, because you will actually, it is possible to be going so fast that you miss the water and land on the ground, or on there is a floating platform above this area here that you can actually land on as well. For most teams, it's not something you need to be concerned about, but it is something to keep in mind if you are going for a speed and no death run. This is the final boss here, the Mad Architect. If you are a Magicka user, light armor, it might be beneficial to slot a shield. For example, a Harness Magicka or Conjured Ward if you're a Sorc, because the boss does have an attack that targets a random player and does hit relatively hard, so you're going to want a shield for that. Adds will be summoned throughout the fight. Tank, try to bring them towards the boss so the DPS can AoE them down. During the fight, he will kind of slam his staff down like that, damage everybody for a fair amount. When he does that, you know his special attack is coming next, which is going to be one of two moves. When you see a bright flashing light like that, you're going to want to move out of the platform that the boss is standing on, that circular platform. You will take some pretty heavy damage if you do happen to stand on that platform.
I give 0 fucks.
Don't do what our tank did. He did it just because he wanted to see whether or not how much damage he could cause with his Sun Shield, since he is a Sun Shield tank. But if you're not a Sun Shield tank, do not stand in the circle when that move happens. That is just one of the possible moves that will happen after he does his sort of ground pound move. The next move, the other possibility, is he creates a dome around that circle. At that point, standing outside the dome causes some pretty massive damage to you. So all members of the party will go on to move inside the dome when the dome appears. So the general kind of flow of this fight is he summons adds, does a couple of attacks, does his staff slam, and then does one of his two special attacks, either into the circle or out of the circle. Pretty simple, straightforward fight, though voice communication is helpful for that special attack in or out of the circle. You know that special attack is coming when he does slam his staff on the ground, so use that as an indicator to kind of know when to step into or out of the circle. That's it for this guide. Hope this helps, and I'll see you guys in the next dungeon.